Hello and welcome to the Arcserve UDP installation and configuration presentation and video. In this video we will do a basic install and configuration of Arcserve UDP using the Unified Installer. We will take a look at the steps to determine you have the right hardware in place, what accounts and privileges are required, and followed up by an overview of the ports used by UDP. We will then install Arcserve UDP and Arcserve Backup using the Unified Installer. There are two installation methods not covered in this video. Silent installation using the command line. This method lets you perform an unintended installation using the Windows command line. Standard installation using the Setup Wizard. This method lets you install Arcserve UDP using the Setup Wizard. In this method you are prompted at each step to choose the desired options. Once the installation is complete, we will then configure the data store and add the backup server for copy-to-tape functionality. We will wrap up the configuration by configuring email notifications and covering how to install Arcserve UDP updates. The release notes, found on the Arcserve support site for UDP, contain a description of system requirements, supported operating systems, and a list of issues known to exist with this release. The release notes describes the system requirements and supported operating systems, Windows system requirements, Linux system requirements, operating system support, desktop and laptop support, application recovery support, upgrade considerations, general considerations, known issues, and limitations. Not only will you find the release notes on the support site, but it's also where you will find the solution guide, supplemental videos, knowledge base articles, live chat with support, and much more. Use the online UDP resource estimator to understand the memory requirements for the recovery point server. In some cases, you may want to offload the hash deduplication process from memory to an SSD. The resource estimator will help you plan both memory and SSD requirements. This is accomplished by providing the amount of data that you are protecting, number of nodes you are protecting, your year-over-year growth rate, and much more. Verify that your Windows account has administrator privileges or any other equal privileges to install software on the systems where you plan to install Arcserve UDP components. Verify that you have the usernames and passwords of the systems where you are installing Arcserve UDP components. Review the Compatibility Matrix that provides the supported operating systems, databases, and browsers. The Compatibility Matrix can be found on the UDP support site. Before the installation, you should determine how to set up your Arcserve UDP installation, the system where you want to install the console, the nodes that you want to protect, the number of recovery point servers that would serve as backup destinations, the number of replica servers that would replicate recovery point servers. A full list of ports used by UDP can be found on the UDP Solution Guide. Here's an example of two of the most common ports used by UDP, 8014 and 8015. The chart tells us the port number, port type, what initiates it, the listening process, if it's internal or external, and a description of what it is used for. Now that we have looked at the prerequisites, it's time to install and configure UDP. Once you've placed your order for Arcserve UDP, you should receive an email confirmation, which is your first step to installing your new product. The order confirmation will have several important pieces of information such as the order ID and link to download the license certificate. Let's go ahead and download the license certificate. Like the order confirmation, the license certificate contains important information to help us install. The order ID and fulfillment number. Using order ID and fulfillment number, you can activate your Arcserve product. It includes a description of the licensed products as well as the number of licenses. There is also included a link to download the product. This link will take us to the Arcserve product download site where we can download individual products or the Unified Installer. Arcserve UDP lets you install all its components using a single Unified Installer. Based on your requirement, the installer suggests the best license to meet your requirements and then downloads and installs the components. After downloading the AS downloader file from the Arcserve website, double-click the installation package and the license agreement dialog opens. Read and accept the terms of the license agreement and click Next. the Activate Arcserve product page opens. Provide the details asked in the page. The email address, order ID, and fulfillment number are mandatory fields. All the other fields are optional. To skip activation, you can click the Skip button. Click Next and the Getting Started dialog opens, and we'll check to see if you have any components currently installed. Click Next again and the Choose Components to Download dialog opens. Arcserve UDP installs Arcserve UDP. Arcserve UDP lets you protect Windows and Linux physical and virtual nodes. You can manage all your data protection needs from a single console. You can use the global source side deduplication, replication, remote replication, and other features to manage your data. Arcserve Backup installs Arcserve Backup. When coupled with Arcserve UDP, you can manage the tape backup from the Arcserve UDP console and leverage all the benefits of Arcserve UDP. Arcserve Replication and High Availability installs Arcserve Replication and High Availability. When coupled with Arcserve UDP, you can protect and manage RHA servers from the Arcserve UDP console. Click Next and then click Download. The product begins to download in a zip format. You can check the download status on the progress bar. You can also pause and resume the download. Depending on the bandwidth and the number of components for download, this may take a while. Until the download is complete, the Next button is inactive. I've gone ahead and skipped the rest of the download in the interest of time. When the download completes, click Next. The installation method dialog opens, and we will select one of the installation types. Express Installation installs the components using the default configuration. Click View Default Configuration and Components to see the components that are installed. Advanced Installation lets you install each component separately. Let's choose Install, select the language, keep it on English, and select OK. We need to read and accept the end-user license agreement and click Next. We'll choose the full installation of UDP, which includes the UDP console, recovery point server, and UDP agent. The change block tracking driver is also checked for install. We will choose the protocol HTTP or HTTPS. Let's go with HTTPS. And we will specify an account with the administrative privileges and select Next. By default, SQL Express will be installed. However, if you have a Windows SQL server you want to connect to, you do have that option as well. When you have more than 500 nodes to manage from the console, make sure that you select Microsoft SQL Server and not SQL Express. Select Next and we are presented with the firewall exceptions. Click Next. We are then presented with any messages. Click Install and the UDP installation will begin. I've gone ahead and skipped forward in the interest of time. Once the installation is complete, you are presented with the option to check for updates immediately, and in our case, a reboot is required because SQL Express 2014 was installed. You can also download and install the Arcserve UDP agent for Linux. Click Finish, and if you selected the option to check for updates, we'll have the option to either download from an Arcserve server or from a staging server. We've installed the latest version, so we will go ahead and click Finish and be prompted with the reboot for the SQL Express install. Once the reboot is complete, we can browse back to the Arcserve All directory and open up the setup, or in this case go back to AS Downloader and run that again. We'll agree to the end-user license agreement. The installation wizard will check the latest product information, and we will click Next when it is complete. We are going to install the Arcserve Backup product for the copy to tape functionality. If you do not need tape functionality, then you can skip this step. Follow the prompts and choose Arcserve Backup from the list. We'll choose Arcserve Backup from the Advanced Installation list. Next, a Arcserve Backup installation menu will pop up and we will select the first option to install, the Arcserve Backup Server and agents for Windows. The prerequisite components that need to be installed will be listed, in this case Microsoft Visual C++. We will then be prompted with the end user license agreement, which we will need to accept to move forward. Under the license key screen, select Next. Choose Local Install and select Next. We want to choose the Express install in this case. A list of the components that will be installed are listed. In our case, we need the base server and client agent for Windows. The tape library option will allow you to write to a multi-drive tape library, but does require a Premium Edition license of UDP. The Enterprise module will add multi-streaming capability to the copy-to-tape task. Let's select Next. In the Accounts section, we will specify the administrative account information and create an Arcserve Backup account. The port that Arcserve Backup uses to communicate with UDP is port 8020. Let's select Next. We will be presented with the components that will be installed. Select Next. The setup summary lists everything, including the Arcserve Backup components that will be installed and where. Select Install and the installation process will begin. I've skipped forward past the confirmation of the Arcserve Backup install so we can look at some basic configuration steps of UDP. I'll start by browsing the Arcserve UDP console icon on the home screen to launch the console. This will launch the UDP console in the default web browser that you have set up. Arcserve UDP supports Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, and Edge browsers. We will log in with the administrative account we provided during setup. The configuration wizard will be the first thing that we are presented with and will take you step by step through the process of protecting your nodes. You will specify the type of backup plan, agent-based or agentless, and the nodes you want to protect. Select and configure the backup destination for your backups and schedule your backups. For this video, we'll be doing these steps outside of the wizard to show all the options available to you. Let's start by configuring the backup destination. On the Resource tab under the Destinations section on the left pane, choose Recovery Point Servers and you will see the server we just installed. Right-click the server or select it and go to the Actions menu and choose Add a Data Store from the drop-down list. We will name the data store and choose the destination will be located. This could be direct attached storage, a NAS, SAN, or a local disk like we are choosing here. Concurrent active nodes are defaulted to 4. This means 4 machines can be backed up simultaneously. If the running jobs meet the number, another job is placed into the queue and start when one of the running jobs completes. The completed job could mean a finished, canceled, or a failed job. The number applies to the job types but not to the server nodes. For example, number 4 indicates that 4 backup jobs are running. Any job scheduled after 4 backup jobs waits in the queue, but you can submit another job such as File System Catalog. Next, we will choose to enable data deduplication. Arcserve UDP supports both types of deduplication, source-side deduplication and global deduplication. Source-side deduplication prevents duplicate data blocks to move across network from a particular agent. Global deduplication eliminates duplicate data across all client machines based on the volume cluster level. Deduplication block size can be set to 4, 8, 16, or 32K block size. The deduplication block size also impacts the deduplication capacity estimation. For example, if you change the default 16K to 32K, the deduplication capacity estimations double. Increasing the deduplication block size can decrease the deduplication percentage. Hash memory allocation specifies the amount of physical memory that you allocate to keep hashes. Hash destination is on a solid-state drive, SSD, specifies if the hash folder is on a solid-state drive. Data destination defines the data destination folder to save the actual unique data blocks. Use the largest disk to store data as that contains the original data blocks of source. Index destination defines the index destination folder to store the index files. Choose a different disk to improve the deduplication processing. Hash destination defines the path to store the hash database. Arcserve UDP uses the SHA1 algorithm to generate the hash for source data. The hash values are managed by the hash database. Selecting a high-speed solid-state drive, SSD, increases the deduplication capacity and requires a lower memory allocation. Enable compression specifies that the data compression settings are enabled. Compression is often selected to decrease the usage of disk space, but also has an inverse impact on your backup speed due to the increased CPU usage. Enable encryption specifies that encryption settings are enabled. When you select this option, you must specify and confirm the encryption password. The data store is created and gets displayed on the center pane. Click the data store to view the details in the right pane. Now that we have our data store configured, let's add an Arcserve backup server to copy data to tape. When you create a plan to copy data to a tape device, you can use this destination. From the left pane, navigate to Destinations and click Arcserve Backup Servers. The Destinations Arcserve Backup Server page is displayed in the center pane. Click Add an Arcserve Backup Server. The Add an Arcserve Backup Server page is displayed. Enter the following details. Node name or IP address specifies the node name or IP address of the Arcserve backup server. Authentication type specifies the type of authentication used to log into the Arcserve backup server. The following two options are available. Windows Authentication specifies that the Windows Authentication is used to log into Arcserve backup server. The Windows user must be registered in Arcserve Backup first using Arcserve Backup User Profile Manager. Arcserve Backup Authentication specifies that the Arcserve Backup Authentication is used to log into the Arcserve Backup server. Username and password specifies the username and its password that helps you log into the node. The port specifies the port number that is used to connect to the Arcserve Backup server. By default, Arcserve UDP uses port 8020 to communicate with Arcserve Backup. Click Save. The Arcserve Backup server is added to the console. Now that we have Arcserve UDP installed and some basic configuration done, let's take a look at the activation and licensing. In the top right corner of the page, select the Help menu and choose Activation and Licensing from the drop-down list. The Product Activation and Licensing page launches and we have two tabs. The Product Activation tab is where you will activate your product by providing the order ID and fulfillment number. As a part of the install, we provided this information and the product is already activated, saving us this step. Note, we can also deactivate our licenses here as well, if we needed to move licenses to different servers, for instance. Trial users can request a trial extension by selecting the Extend Trial button, and a request is generated and sent to Arcserve for review. You can activate Arcserve UDP even if you are not online. If your Arcserve product does not have access to internet, you are automatically redirected to the offline activation method. The License Management tab will show us the licenses we have available and if we have any unlicensed nodes. In this installation video, we have not deployed or discovered any additional nodes, so all of our licenses are available and unused. For more information on licensing Arcserve products, please view the Licensing Arcserve Products documentation on the Arcserve support site. Thank you for watching this UDP 6.5 installation and configuration video. I hope this has helped you get started with your journey using Arcserve UDP 6.5. There is much more to UDP. Configuring backups, physical, virtual, Windows or Linux, support for Exchange and Office 365, backing up on-site Exchange and SQL, and backing up data on shares. Performing restores like granular restore of file data, email data, etc. VM level restores, bare metal restores, Active Directory restores, and much more. Performing disaster recovery, virtual standby, instant virtual machine, full system high availability. Please watch for additional videos covering these topics and more.